A long time ago, in a land far away, there lived Tyronius the blacksmith. Tyronius lived in the northern reaches of the kingdom of Hammerforge. He spent his days making swords, armor, and small trinkets, hunching over the anvil in the dimly lit forge. He worked the metal with his heavy hammer, sweat beading on his arms. He was never content with the quality of his pieces and always took steps to improve his craft. With time, his work became famous throughout the kingdom. Despite his growing renown, it was still a surprise for Tyronius when a messenger arrived from Harold, the king of Hammerforge. The messenger was splendidly dressed in the king's colors and proclaimed, "Tyronius the blacksmith, you are formally invited to the feast of the Craftsmen in 2 fortnights. Please come to the palace early and spend some time in the royal armory." It was a great honor to be invited to the feast of the Craftsmen, as it was held once every 8 years and only the very best artisans received an invite. Tyronius was eager to set out, but waited a fortnight to begin the week-long trek to the capital. He brought with him his favorite hammer, a small anvil, and his heavy tan hide apron. When he reached the royal palace, Tyronius was surprised to be taken to the grand hall and introduced to the king. Harold was a jovial, well-meaning fellow, though a bit eccentric. "Tyronius, my good man, you must have had a long journey. Your skin is black with dust from the road, and soot from thine forge. I have seen your exquisite work. You shall be quartered in the palace, and may freely use the forge in my armory to your heart's content." Tyronius could hardly get a small bow in before he was whisked away by the king's advisor and taken to his quarters near the armory. Tyronius spent the next week befriending the royal smiths and working on a small project to give to the king at the feast. The gift was a pocket-sized man that could be wound up to walk slowly across the floor. The automaton was the most complicated device our smith had ever attempted, and he spent every waking minute toiling on the design. He knew time would be tight as he had to remake critical components of the arms to fix an issue with the balance. He was so intent on making the finishing touches he did not realize it was only an hour before the feast was to begin. He looked up, startled. He saw Harold, the king, watching him with a smile. "Hark, Tyronius! Prepare thyself for the feast. It begins in nary an hour, and thine arms and face are black with soot." "Your honor," replied Tyronius, "I shall clean up soon, but you should know I am Tyronius the blacksmith. It is the color of my skin." "Don't be ridiculous," retorted the king. "Blacks are not real. I have heard stories as a child, but never in my 60 of living have I seen a man of black skin. You are a blacksmith. The soot of the forge covers thine face." "I assure you, your highness, it is the tint of my skin." The king, puzzled, tilted his head like a curious hound. "Nonsense! Everyone knows blacksmiths are covered in soot. Here," he said, producing a royal sponge and bucket. "Use the royal cleansing soap. It is imported from the Spice Isles and can wash the black off anything." Tyronius couldn't help but smile at the king's ignorance. "Sire, if I might suggest, perhaps instead of trying to wash away my color, you should invite me to the feast as I am, for my craft and for my company, not worried about the shade of my skin." King Harold scratched his beard, considering the blacksmith's words. "Well, if your color is as permanent as you say, then it must indeed be blessed by the gods. A blacksmith who can never get dirty, only divine hands could craft such a splendor. Come, let us feast, and I shall tell everyone of thine divine gift." And so Tyronius, with his unwashed face, walked beside the king towards the feast hall. The feast was a delight for everyone. The craftsmen of the kingdom had made glory and splendor. Everyone was impressed by the work of Tyronius, and he made many friends. The end.